Welcome to World of Tanks Weekly Assault, your weekly look at all things World of Tanks console. I'm your host, Thor Parker.
Hey guys, Clone Guy here, and today we are talking about 7 of the best preferential premiums in World of Tanks Mercenaries. What are preferential premiums, you may be asking yourself? Why not just regular premium tanks? Well, that's because in the modern day and age of World of Tanks, with matchmaking as it is, with contracts, mercenary contracts out, people grinding all these tier 10s, tier 8 matchmaking is pretty tough. You're going to be bottom tier a lot. So today, for the first time, we're going to be talking about preferential premiums. Next time we have a video like this, we'll be talking about tier 8 premiums in general. But today, it's just preferential, which means they cannot see 2 tiers higher. So if we're talking about tier 8s, they cannot see tier 10. If we're talking about tier 7s, they cannot see tier 9. So the first one on the list is a nice strong one known as the Mutant. Now these are not going to be in any particular order. These are just 7 of the best ones in my opinion, and we're going to include some tier 7s as well. But the Mutant, honestly, the Mutant 6, it's an amazing vehicle in my opinion. I really like it. I mean, look at the armor you have on this thing. You take pretty much best in class armor at tier 8, and then you just, boom, put it on a tank that can't even fight tier 10s. It's just phenomenal because of that. Not only that, but it also has the best credit multiplier in the game, sitting at 67%. There is not a single other tank that makes as much money as this thing. Granted, you're a bit slow, you turn real slow, you don't have the greatest rate of fire, which of course means maybe you won't be getting as much money, let's say, as in like a medium premium tank or something like that. Something that can do damage a little bit faster. But shot for shot, this tank will make the most money in this game. And that is why it is on this list. You cannot go wrong with a tank with insane armor, a pretty decent gun with 198 pen, which cannot fight tier 10s, which is great, and best money in the game. So that is why this one is on the list. Next up, Panther 88. I love the Panther 88. Its gun is insanely accurate. It's got a great rate of fire, and it's super, super mobile. It's been buffed to have 8 degrees of gun depression, I think all the way around as well. It's just a phenomenal tank. And this tank previously only went about 45 kilometers an hour. It's been buffed, I think, up to 53 or 55, which is great. And I know a lot of you might be like, what? The Panther 88? You guys have seen the Quickie Baby videos, and I don't know who else has done videos about how bad the Panther 88 is, but here's Clone Guy telling you it's a great tank. Why? Well, that's because on PC, the Panther 88 does not have preferential matchmaking. On PC, the Panther 88 can fight tier 10s. Here on console, however, it will never ever see a tier 10 in its life, as long as you're not platooned with someone who can fight tier 10s, that is. Which means you can get away with some pretty cool stuff. The rate of fire is fantastic, the mobility is fantastic, the gun is fantastic. It's got the same gun as the Tiger 1, and you'll be like, ugh, a Tiger 1 gun on a tier 8? Yes, a tier 8 with preferential matchmaking. And not only that, but it's a medium tank, and the rate of fire is great, which we've mentioned already. And because of its speed, you can flank around, and so on and so forth. And when you consider other guns at tier 8, like the old Patton gun, or Pershing gun, which had 190 millimeters of penetration, or the old STA-2 gun, which had 183 millimeters of penetration, or the Motherland and the T-44, which have 190 millimeters of penetration, the Type 59, which I think it has 183 millimeters of penetration, something like that, and then the IS-6 with 175. 203 millimeters of penetration is fantastic for a preferential premium tank. 203 is actually really, really good. And that is why this tank has made it on the list for me, in my opinion. And it's also great at side scraping because of its pretty decent armor. Side armor. It's a really good all-round tank, and I highly, highly recommend it. And as you can see, we're showing off the mobility as we drive through the streets of Himmelsdorf. It's playing fantastically. It's a great tank. Next, we have the Tiger 131, which should not be a surprise for anyone who has ever seen this tank, or ever played this tank, or ever seen me play this tank, ever seen anyone else play this tank. It's a Tiger 1 with an insane rate of fire. It's got the stock Tiger 1's gun, but its penetration has been buffed. Alright, it keeps the same mobility, it has an extra degree of gun depression, if not, I think 2 extra degrees of gun depression, it has 8 total degrees of gun depression, and it can just slaughter other Tiger 1s if you're fighting any Tiger 1s or anything like that, or pretty much any tier 7s in the game. You can just slaughter with this thing's rate of fire and its hit points and its mobility, and it's got 380 meters view range as well, so you throw Opticus on this thing, and you can be out spotting any tier 8s you fight. Its premium rounds are good enough to fight other tier 8s if you happen to fight tier 8s. And you can fight tier 5s in it. You can fight tier 5s in the Tiger 131. And you two-shot them, and you've got about a 4.5 seconds reload. So it's disgusting. Granted, this tank isn't on sale all the time because it isn't a tech tree premium, so you do have to wait for it to come on sale. But if you're considering buying yourself a premium tank and you want a tank with preferential matchmaking, I highly recommend the Tiger 131. And that's something I didn't mention earlier. I'm not encouraging you guys to go out and buy premium tanks. This is for people who were planning on buying premium tanks in the first place. I was asked to do this, and if you're going to be spending money on the game, you may as well do your research, and hopefully I can do that here for you guys. And the Tiger 131 is probably the #1 tier 7 premium tank I could possibly ever recommend to anyone. If somebody asks me, yo, what tier 7 premium tank do you recommend? It's going to be the Tiger 131. Tiger 131, E25, Minuteman. I recommend those 3 highly, 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 but the Tiger 131 has to be on the top. Since we were literally just, or should I say just mentioned the E25, I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about the E25. The E25 is next on the list. It is a tier 7 tank destroyer, which is in the tech tree, so you can buy it at any time. And if you're considering a tier 7 premium, this one I consider. I would recommend. This one I recommend the highest of any other tier 7 premium. Wait, Clone Guy, you just said that about the Tiger 131. Yes, I did. I recommend this one the highest of any tier 7 premium that you can buy all the time. The Tiger 131 is a limited time tank. It comes out every once in a while for you to buy. The E25 is one of those that you can buy at any time, and it is great. It's fantastic. One of the funnest, in fact, tanks that you can buy at any time in this game. It's more fun than any of the tier 7 premiums, in my opinion. You've got like 2,700 base DPM, something like that. And then if you throw food on here, gun rammer events, get a good crew, brothers in arms, you're cooking at like 3,300 DPM, something disgusting like that. And so you can kill 2 tigers a minute, which is insane, because that's one of the healthiest tier 7s in the game, is the Tiger. The Tiger 1 hammer, same thing. In fact, if you, like I said, have a maxed out crew, you can kill 2 Tiger 1 hammers with 1,550 hit points in less than a minute. You can kill them in about 50 seconds. Not only that, but you are insanely mobile, meaning you can play it like a light tank and just circle tanks to death. It's insane. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And the camera rating is disgusting because of your speed. You can climb things, boost places. You can just have a lot of fun with this tank. And I definitely agree that this is one of the funnest tanks in the game to possibly play. And that is why it's on this list for 2 reasons. One is because of its... multiple reasons, really. 1 is because of its speed, 2 is because of its fire, 3 is because of its camera rating, and 4 because of its meme factor. You can have a ton of memes and a ton of fun in this tank. Like, you can't go wrong with it. It's a fun one, and that is why it is on this list. Now we're getting into some of my top favorite tier 8 preferential premiums, and the first one is going to be the 112. Boy, oh boy, do I love the 112. Alright. It's got it all. It's got really good armor, it's got a big gun, and great mobility. What more do you want on a heavy tank? Oh, not only that, but it has the same hull as the 113. Just, it has a better lower plate and better side armor. Its upper plate is exactly the same as a tier 10 heavy. But here's the kicker. It has preferential matchmaking at tier 8, meaning this hull will never, ever have to fight tier 10s. It's about 390 effective when you're not angled. The upper plate is when you're fighting people who are on the same level as you. You have 290 effective upper plate armor, and you're fighting tier 6s. People come to me a lot saying the WZ-111 is better or the IS-6 is better because the IS-6 has better gun handling and better rate of fire, or the WZ has better mobility and better gun handling. And it's like, well, that's like comparing the 121, the tier 10 Chinese medium tank, to the Object 430U, the Russian tier 10 medium tank, and saying the 121 is better because of its better gun handling. Well, you're not including the armor. Add that armor to its mobility, and this is an extremely hard tank to kill. And you're going to be seeing that in the background too. You're going to see the gun hit, you're going to see people bounce off of us, bounce off our front, bounce off our side, and you can see the mobility. It's a fantastic tank, and I can't stress how good it is. And when you compare it to the IS-6, this tank's armor blows the IS-6 away in regards to its armor, and this thing has 55% credit multiplier. The IS-6 only has a 50, so not only are you outperforming an IS-6 in regards to your armor and your mobility, but also your credit multiplier. You will be making more credits than an IS-6, and you also have heat shells with 250 millimeters of penetration, meaning if you have to fight an E-75, you can do it no problem. An IS-6 has premium rounds which only have 217 millimeters of penetration, meaning an IS-6 is going to struggle when it's not top tier. Moving briskly into the next one, second to last, but certainly not least, the STA-2. I love the STA-2. This is another one of those tanks which came from PC, and on PC it does not have preferential matchmaking, meaning the STA-2 on PC can fight tier 10s. So they buffed it on PC because they realized it was kind of underperforming. So they buffed it, buffed its penetration from 183 to 187, and then they buffed its penetration again to 212, and they buffed its engine power. I forget what it was before, but they buffed that a bit, and they buffed its max speed from 45 to 53, and they buffed its rate of fire and gun handling. And then console did the same exact thing, but console has preferential matchmaking. Here on console, you never ever have to fight tier 10s, and you're top tier most of the time. You fight 9s occasionally, probably 1 out of 3 games you fight 9s, but other than that, you're fighting 6s. And your premium penetration is 275, which is higher than most tier 8's premium penetration, which don't have preferential matchmaking. You have 275 millimeters of heat pen, meaning you can deal with even type 4 heavies if you have to fight them. It's amazing. And this tank heavily rivaled the FCM 50 ton in my opinion. I could not decide which one I liked more, but I'm going to tell you, I like the FCM 50 ton even more. And when we take a look at that, spoilers, that's going to be on the list as well. The last one on the list after the STA-2. Spoilers, when we take a look at that, you'll see why I like the FCM just a little bit more than I like the STA-2. But the STA-2 is a great pickup, not only because of everything we've listed so far, but also because of its price. It's one of the cheapest tier 8 premiums in the game. And when it's on sale, it can get as low as 6,000 gold if you wait for it to come on sale. It's a pretty cheap premium tank, and that's another reason why I highly recommend it. Now, before we get into the last one, I've got 2 honorable mentions. The first one being the Type 59. This one is also yet another really cheap premium tank, even cheaper than the STA-2. If I remember correctly, it was like 6,900 gold. Something really cheap like that. And it also has a 57% credit multiplier. Most tier 8 premiums have a 50%, so you're making 7% more than most other premiums at tier 8. However, the reason I didn't put this on the list is because, well, first of all, there's not many Chinese tanks, so you're not really going to need a Chinese tank for cruise. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. And the other is also because of cruise. This is not a very... When I first got the Type 59, I could not stand it. It wasn't very good until you got a crew that could kind of help make the gun perform well. Because the gun is very derpy, even though it only does 250 alpha. And its rate of fire isn't the greatest. And its mobility... Actually, its mobility is pretty good. You get set on fire through the front, you get ammo rack through the front. Pretty much the whole package deal that you would normally get in a Chinese tank is in this tank as well. But you've got 7 degrees of gun depression, which is unique for any Chinese tank. That's great. And you've got pretty much T-54 turret armor at tier 8, and you don't even have to fight tier 10s. So that's really nice. However, the drawbacks of the tank, I think, were strong enough to not put this on the list. Maybe rank it about 8 or 9 on this list. So still a really good pickup, but definitely I would not recommend it unless you're looking for a tank for China, if you're looking for a Chinese tank, then yeah, I would recommend it. Otherwise, this is just an honorable mention. For our last honorable mention, it is the Panther M10. This would have been on the list as well, except people were telling me, Clone Guy, it's not as good as you say it is. I had a video about the tank, and I was talking about how great it is, and then everybody was just like, it's actually not that good, Clone Guy. I was like, really? I love the tank. It's got the same gun as the E25, which is the same tier, but it's on a medium tank, meaning you have a turret, meaning you can get good flanking. The tank has received some armor buffs in the past, not in the near recent. Kind of, it was a while ago. It's also got some speed buffs as well, just like the Panther 88. It got some speed buffs. It went from 43 now to, I think, or 45 up to 53. So this tank is a lot faster now. The gun is very accurate. You can rip apart Tigers, which is pretty much the main opposition you'll be fighting in these tanks. And I highly enjoy it. I really like the tank. And again, it's also a pretty cheap tank. And it's one that a lot of you may have gotten for free back when it was the Champion M10. When you completed the tank bowl. And in the background you see it just ripping apart a Tiger. It's got pretty good view range. I think it's 360 or 365. It's a weird number, but that's enough. If you throw optics on, you get vents, you get brothers in arms, recon, situation awareness. That's enough to outspot people, especially at tier 7, which is what we're doing in the game in the background. And that's a highly good way to make some money and even perform tier 8s, because this is a tier 7 and the highest tier you can see is tier 8. Last but not least, my favorite, my opinion, the best tier 8 preferential premium in the game has to be the FCM 50 ton. You see me playing the Liberté version in the background, but it's the same thing. It's such a good, it's so good. Alright, it was a toss-up between this and the STA2, which one I thought was better. But then they recently buffed the FCM for gosh knows why. They gave it better rate of fire. They gave it better gun depression. They gave it more hit points. It went from 1500 to 1600. And they gave it better gun handling. Why? I don't know. I thought it was a great tank before. It's like, okay, it's about on par with the STA2. They're about pretty equal tanks. And then, oh, here, have a buff. Have a major buffs, FCM. And now I think it's the best tier 8 preferential premium. And one of the best tier 8 premiums in general. If it did not have preferential matchmaking, I would still consider this to be one of the better tier 8 premiums. Just because of its gun, just because of its rate of fire. You have 212 millimeters of penetration on a preferential premium heavy tank. And just to put that into perspective for you guys, the KV5/Gory Niche, which is a tier 8 preferential premium, has 167 millimeters of penetration. The IS-6, the WZ-111, the 112, pretty much all the 122 premium heavy tanks, I don't know if I missed any, with preferential matchmaking have 175 millimeters of penetration. The Mutant has 198 millimeters of penetration, but this thing has 212 millimeters of standard penetration. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And because of that, you don't need to switch to premium a lot of the time. But if you choose to shoot your premium rounds, you now have 259 millimeters of premium APCR penetration, which is more than capable of dealing with E75s and shooting the weak spots of Type 4 heavies and lower plates of STIs. The 112, which I was emphasizing on the fact that it had 250 millimeters of heat penetration being phenomenal for a preferential tank, this thing blows away. It has premium APCR with 259, 9 more millimeters of penetration. So it flies fast. You have a great rate of fire. You have great accuracy, meaning if you miss, it's not as big a deal. If you miss in the 112, it's a pretty big deal, because then you have a 10 to 11 seconds reload after that. This thing, oh well, you've got another shot in 5 seconds, no problem. No big deal. And yeah, the accuracy is great, and you're seeing that come into play in the background, hopefully. And the rate of fire is good, the mobility is good. View range, 400 meters view range, guys. 400 meters. Meaning, if you got put into a tier 10 battle, which won't happen unless you platoon with someone who can fight tier 10s. If you get put in a tier 10 battle and you have optics on, you can outspot tier 10s. And I do have optics on my FCM. I go gun rammer, vertical stabilizer, and optics. And I outspot nearly everyone. And it's a wonderful thing. And that is why this one is on the list for me. Anyway, guys, that's the list. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Let me know what you think. Maybe you agree with some, maybe you disagree with some. Let me know in the comments below. Maybe you would say, hey, I would like to see a KB5 on there instead, or I'd rather see an IS6, something like that. Let me know in the comments below. And this was just the higher tier preferential premium tanks, meaning tier 7s and 8s. I didn't delve into the tier 6s, 5s, and 4s. I don't really see a reason for those. Like, those are cheap. And, you know, if you make a mistake and actually buy one that's not that great, it's not as big a deal. So, that's why I didn't include those. But that's the video. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Let me know what other kind of top 7s you want to see me do. And leave in the comments below. And I will see you guys all later. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Take care, everyone. And peace out.